Hello, this is Judy, and I am ready to do a foot reading for a friend's dad, um, who I have not met. So I've just observed these pictures that were sent to me, and um, I'll just be sharing my thoughts and feelings and impressions on these feet. So this is the right foot. I just want to reference the right and the left foot. You can kind of see some similarities, but there are some different things going on between the feet. The first thing, though, is similar on both feet, and it's just this spacing here between the big toe and the second toe. The first thing that this connects for me is kind of a disconnection between your thoughts and your feelings, almost as if you don't want to think about your feelings. Maybe they're too painful. Maybe there's a lot of stuff going on right now and you just don't want to get into that. But another thing playing into this is the way that the big toe leans into the other toes. We get that on both feet. And this kind of, I guess, substantiates that disconnection between your thoughts and um, your feelings and emotions. Like almost as if, like I said, you don't want to um, you don't want to think about those things. Not that you don't want to face them, but you just don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. But the same marker, the space, also tells me that you've got quite a lot of like independence and leadership. This is a good quality. So the shape of that big toe and the way it's leaning in, that tells me quite a lot to start off. Another thing with the leaning is kind of a it's definitely a misalignment. The big toe represents your head space and your neck. Your neck would be down here and your head would be up here. And this kind of leaning could actually be showing up physically on your body as a misalignment in your neck and your head. So you could be having like a forward head motion on your spine, and it kind of has a physical and an emotional kind of mental aspect to it. So when we see physical things on the body like this, we know that the the emotional properties are definitely there as well. And sometimes when we fix those emotional things, um, the physical things get better or improve. And for this, where it's the structural part of your neck and head, um, the head has to do everything with your thoughts and your opinions. And as this toe leaning gains intensity, um, it it's kind of an invasion happening. It's invading the space of the second toe. And um, for me, when I'm looking at the feet and kind of reading them, this space here represents the emotional and the feelings and that part of it. And the thoughts and opinions that you're having are definitely invading that space. Um, so all of those things that we've mentioned so far kind of play together, where this might be like a stubborn refusal to look at some emotional things. Or maybe, like I said before, maybe it's just too painful. But we kind of see a repeat of sort of the same aspect in other areas of your body and your feet. Um, and so I'm just going to recommend now, and I'll continue to make different recommendations, but I would recommend that you take a close look at your feelings and emotions, whether that means talking to someone or writing your feelings down, like in a journal or something. Um, this is going to play a major role in your health going forward over the next decade or so. So let's keep moving on. The shape of your toes tell me that you are spiritually looking for something in the future. And your life path has really been focused on this future thing. It's an optimistic feeling. It's kind of looking forward to that future thing. Um, I don't know what that would be. You might know, and maybe you don't, but that's what the shape of your toes are telling me. Now, the shape of your big toe, actually, I'll say that again, big toenail. Um, I sort of see this kind of almost like if your foot was flat on the floor, your toenail would kind of round up and kind of be pointed up toward the heavens. And I see that on both feet. It's kind of rounded and comes up. And to me, that is also a very optimistic feeling, a very good indicator to me that you are always looking to heaven or connecting to a higher power, that you have an optimistic outlook, and so you kind of are looking up. That's kind of how I interpret that. Now we also have some leaning going on with your fourth and your pinky toe, and we see that on both feet. Now this kind of tells me that within your family, your views of your family, your thoughts of your family, and your relationships, you are not necessarily looking to the past, but you're holding onto the past. The way this pinky toe is wrapping, hugging underneath that fourth toe, and the same on this foot, there's some powerful foundational security feelings that have come in your lifetime around your family and your relationships. And um, your security now and your foundational wellness now is kind of buried in your past thoughts around family and relations. So whether that means that you long for a time when family and relationships were different or easier, I don't know, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. I see both in both feet for you. I see both an optimistic, futuristic outlook, as well as holding on to those foundational feelings that you had in family in sometime in the past. And we don't have a timeline here, so it could have been yesterday or it could have been decades ago. But somewhere you are holding on to those feelings from the past. Now, both feet, we're looking at quite a lot of dryness around the ends of the toes. Looks as if maybe nearing a crack or a split, but definitely we have some dryness going on the toes. And dryness in all its forms indicates a level of exhaustion. Now, because the toes represent the headspace, um, it also is a good place where we find results of our thoughts. And so in the toes, when we see dryness, it tends to tell me that the body is beginning to withdraw vital resources from these tissues, um, when we talk about the anatomy of the body on the foot, this being the head, um, the dryness is kind of invading the area of the head. It's invading the eyes and the sinuses, the neck, our brain, our thoughts, our feelings, all these internal things. But all that it means is that just an exhaustion, a tiredness. Your your mind is spent, and kind of like you're on an empty tank. And I'll bring this back to those first couple things and that recommendation that I made to you. Um, a lot of times when we hold in our thoughts and our feelings, they kind of cloud our headspace like this. And um, getting those thoughts and feelings out makes us feel better in an emotional way, but also physically, because we clear that headspace so that we can think more clearly, we can function more properly, and our body systems can work more efficiently in that headspace, instead of robbing the headspace of the nutrition and moisture and things that it needs. And that's what I see reflecting there in that dryness. Um, the dryness, I just had this thought, the dryness can also be an exhaustion of your own capability to vocalize what's on your mind. So I don't know your situation or anything about you, but perhaps you have felt like you weren't capable or able to say what you're feeling or what's on your mind. And these things, expressing these things, are going to be important in most all of the things that I've seen on your feet today. So, in order to improve not only your feet, but your body's health and ability for the systems to work um, better, will be determined on your ability to allow yourself to feel your emotions and express those feelings when you feel that you need to. Um, all right. So, going with that dryness, we also have a little bit of callousing that's going to be starting in the toenails. But the interesting thing is that we're only seeing it in, well, mostly we kind of have some discoloration here. Discoloration is kind of the first step. Um, but I always have this mantra where I say, as goes the toenails, so goes the mind. So, what is it? A callus to me is an extra protection. It's a um, overabundance to protect ourselves and within your headspace. So, whether it's thoughts or feelings, um, what is it that you feel that you have to protect? And maybe it comes back to that ability to talk about your feelings or express your emotions. Um, Within the third toe, we see this callousing on the nail. And interestingly enough, we also see it on the left foot. So we're seeing it on both, similarities to both feet. The big toe is starting with some discoloration, and the second toe is just starting as well. We do have a little bit of um, buildup of the cuticle, which I see as the same thing, but for the most part, it's really just the third toenail. And to me, this is really all about your thoughts and your opinions, thoughts and opinions about your life career. So, whether it was your job or a big action that you took in your life, um, there's some callousing happening because of the thoughts that you've had around that. And I don't know, you'll be the only one to know whether this um, connects to your feelings around your family and relationships. I'm sorry about my voice. I've had a cold all week. All right. Let's keep going. So, a kind of more obvious, I call them markers, which are just anything that I can see on the feet. On the left foot, we've got this skin tag here. I don't know if it's an actual wart or a skin tag or a mole. To me, it doesn't matter. It reads the same energetically. And to me, that is just kind of like an X marks the spot. Like we need to keep our eye on this reflex signal to make sure that everything functions properly. And for this is actually on some of the nerves that go to the eye. And so this is part of the eye reflex signal. And so all I will say here is be aware for forever, for as long as you have this tag, be aware of extra cell activity within your left eye area going forward. As you go through life, when things come up, just be aware that there is some extra cell energy there in the eye, and so we always want to be vigilant in keeping track of it to make sure that nothing develops that we need to take care of later. So when you go to your eye doctor, just make sure they're checking really well so that we don't miss anything. I have to turn my page. I have so many notes. Okay, also on the left foot, we have a lot of what I call congestion. It's showing up around the toenails as redness. Almost some areas almost look swollen a bit. And like I said before, this toe area, all of this represents our head space. And this is definitely, like I said, congestion. Definitely showing up probably more on your left side than your right side because we don't really see it. Maybe a little bit going on this foot, but really not anywhere near what the other foot is. And this can manifest in a variety of ways. You might already be seeing this in your body. It could include, but not limited to, eye pressure or dental swelling or sinus pressure or sinus issues, headaches, those types of things. And likewise, beyond the physical state, there's also kind of a mental state that could be affected here. And when you think about swelling, that is an excess of fluid. So in a mental state, if we think of that same sort of thing, like there's water in our thoughts, it would almost be as if you are having an ocean of thoughts and you just have a great amount of internal pressure. And so here I'm going to recommend, and this goes along with what we've already talked about and what we're going to talk about going forward, but I would recommend scheduling for yourself some time to sit each day and just think. Time to ponder, time to sort out thoughts. If you have a higher power, time to connect to the higher power, but not just in an asking way, but also in kind of a sorting way. Sort your thoughts, listen, those kinds of things, so that when you're finished with that time, you sort of feel like things have been put into their place so that you're not just swimming in this ocean of thoughts. And this time can be a short time. It doesn't need to be long. It could be 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10, 15, whatever it is you feel like you can focus on this, but it is an important thing for you as we age and as we hold all of our emotions and our thoughts from our life. Obviously, those are going to be more and more as we age because we accumulate more and we've been holding them for longer. And so, this thinking time can also go into feeling time, where you actually are thinking about what it is that you're feeling and how that resonates in your body. Um, those things won't build up so much in your body. And I think sometimes there's a fear as we age that we don't want to let go of the past because our past created us. But if you'll think of it more as allowing those things to flow through you, it will always stay with you, but you won't be so bogged down by all the ocean of different thoughts and feelings and everything swimming together. So, all right, let's move on the foot. We have a couple other views. I wanted to touch on this one. Um, I I feel fairly confident to say that I think that this picture was sent to me because of the dark spotting on the leg. Um, However, I did see some other things going on in this picture, but I did want to talk about these spots because these dark spots could be caused by a variety of factors. Most commonly, as we get older, dark spots like these could be caused from earlier sun exposure, which leads to age spots. But another really common thing that happens as we age, which I feel fairly confident that that's what's happening here. We have some vascular issues going on here. We see the darkening almost looks like bruising. It's actually just the veins and vessels within the skin that are starting to show because of poor circulation. And due to those veins not being supplied with a sufficient amount of circulation, we start to see this darkening of the skin. It's a really common thing, but it is caused by low circulation. I can't really see this side of the foot, but I'm guessing that we have some more going on here. And another couple things that it could be, but like I said, I'm fairly confident that it's because of circulation. But just so that you're aware, you can have things checked as you feel necessary. Um, it could be what's called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, which means you had some swelling in this area, and then after the swelling goes down, the skin produces more melanin than it actually needs, which creates a dark spotting on the skin. And things like topical creams and vitamins and things like that can help to heal that, but really um, it's kind of just the result of that inflammation. Another thing that just needs to be on the list so you're aware of is if you have any kind of diabetes. People with diabetes can develop characteristic brown spots on their lower legs, and this is called diabetic dermopathy. Um, As far as the circulation goes, I would recommend a compression stocking to help with the circulation there. And you do need to see a doctor if you notice a sudden change or new dark spots appearing on your legs. You just need to go and make sure that nothing bad is causing it. Remember, it could be something as simple as we were in the sun when we were younger, and now it's showing up as dark spots. But definite things to be aware of is swelling, pain, redness, those are all things that need to be seen by a doctor. If you have any concerns about potential skin cancers or anything like that, then you should have a doctor look at this. But you may possibly already know what has caused this. You may already be aware of a vein issue or maybe some swelling that was in that area and went down. But let's go on to, well, I'll come back to this picture in just a second. I want to jump to the bottom of the foot. Just really quickly, one spot. And it is this spot right here. This is where we find the spleen reflex signal. And to me, this reflex signal looks a little bit puffed up. I don't know if you can see that. It almost looks like kind of a circle on your foot. And a puffy spleen signal is tricky because there are emotional factors that it could be, but usually what I find is when the spleen is puffy, it is usually a physical response in the body, and it usually happens when the body is fighting some sort of an infection, a cold, a sinus infection. We already talked about those, but it also could be something else. So like I said, I don't know you or your background, so I don't know if you have any pre-existing things that would cause the spleen to work really hard to produce T cells, spider cells. But another thing to point out is that emotionally, the spleen runs along the same emotional line in the reflexes as our family and our relationships. It has to do with how we move forward in our family and our relationships, and stress being influenced by our family and relationships. I do know that you have a large family, so I'm sure that there's been a lot of stress over the years from kids and grandkids and whatever, but that is kind of interesting to me that we have some puffiness going on there. Now, while we're talking about puffiness, let's go back to that picture we were just looking at, because there was one other thing that caught my eye here. Like I said before, I feel fairly confident that the picture was sent to me to interpret this, but that's not what I saw first, because I feel like this is fairly non-threatening. But what caught my eye was a puffiness in the medial ankle in this area. And this area holds all of our reproductive organs. So this is where your prostate and your bladder are going to be found. And swelling in this area is probably going to show and indicate a multitude of symptomology. You might feel bloated, you might feel pressure in your abdomen. Internally, we interpret swelling as physical extra fluid in the body. So again, this reproductive area runs in that same line as the spleen and the family and relationships. We do see puffiness in this area quite often when people are really concerned about their kids or their families or their grandkids, or choices that family members have made, or something that's happening in a relationship. But we also have to be aware of the physical aspect that comes into play here because these are such vital organs. So if you're experiencing anything organ related, like with your bladder or anything like that, that is worth getting checked out because those are things that we don't, better to catch things quickly than to wait until they're a problem. But like I said, this can all just be around emotional worry, concern around family and relationships. So it's all kind of tying together. We've seen a lot of issues around that family. There was the one callousing of the third toe that had to do with more like the career, whether it's time spent at the career or wishing you had had time to spend at the career. I don't know. But outside of that, most of the things that have been showing on your feet are kind of coming back around to that family and relationships. So again, I recommend journaling. Journaling is magical, not just to keep a personal record, but it also helps us to sort out our thoughts and our emotions, and sometimes even um, strengthen our relationships because we start to see in writing um, clues and context that we don't pick up on when we're just thinking about those relationships. So it sometimes helps us figure those things out. And then long term benefits from journaling have actually been proven in medicine to be a great way to release mental health and to strengthen your relationships within families, and um, so all kinds of benefits from journaling. So I would recommend that. There are just a few more um, spots, markers that I saw on your feet that I want to point out today. So the first one we actually see in all of the pictures. Okay, not the very first pictures, but we see it in this one. I want you to pay close attention to the right foot, how the right foot is kind of bent here, kind of pulling the big toe back a little bit. We see it again in each one of the shots, not so much there, but we see it also here and here. Both, all of the different views of the photos, we've got this right foot extended back. Now it's common for me to see it in a photo of the bottom of the foot because a lot of times when we get our feet in a picture, we want to be helpful, and so we hold our toes back so that the bottom of the foot is showing in the picture. But because we see it in all of these other pictures, that's what makes me tend to think this is a little bit more going on. Um, I call this, I have a name for this. I actually call this gas pedal foot. If you think about sitting in your car and pushing down the gas pedal so you can go, this is a really easy marker to identify on feet, because the foot is always going to be kind of bent in this gas pedal shape. And to me, this kind of indicates a lot of emotional stress. Um, we we don't need to go into whether it's family or relationships or job or whatever it is. This just feels like burning the candle at both ends, and somebody who is just always on the go. Now, again, I don't know you. I know your daughter, so I can kind of guess your age. I don't know though, because with a large family, I don't know where she falls in the mix. So, I don't know what go, go, go means for you. I don't know if you're retired or if you're still going or in a retired state. Maybe you still feel the need to go, 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 but it is the type of thing. My mom used to tell me this when I was a teenager. I used to be involved in so many different things. She used to tell me, you're burning the candle at both ends. It's going to catch up to you. And I always used to just laugh, and I didn't recognize. Oh, I was looking for the picture, but it's the one I'm on. I didn't recognize um, what it was that she meant, how it possibly could catch up to you. Um, but I do want to point out here, we have the digestive system in this area, and I can't see it as much on this foot, which could just be a photography issue, but it also could be an indication that whatever is happening here is just barely starting. It's just barely starting. So you may not be having any symptoms, and it's totally reversible. But it's because of all this stress of the go, go, go that we are burning out in the digestive system. You can see this wrinkling and lines. This is just kind of an exhausted, kind of slowing down, tired sort of feeling in the digestive system. Now, all we have to do to correct this is to slow down a little bit. Take your foot off the gas pedal. Schedule that thinking time. Schedule some journal time. If you're active, definitely stay active, because that's going to keep your mind active for more years. The more active we stay through our middle age, the more brain activity we continue to have through our later years. So I definitely always recommend stay active. If you're not active, then it's time to schedule a little bit of activity, whether it's just sitting in your chair and stretching your arms and your upper body like a chair yoga, stretching out one foot at a time repeatedly, alternating feet, whatever it is. We have to balance your time. We need activity, we need thinking time, we need journaling, or another form of expressing your feelings. So, like I mentioned before, whether you go talk to somebody, or I know some people like a technique called writing pages, and it's like journaling, but when you're finished writing, you shred your paper or you burn it in the fireplace or whatever it is that you want to do to destroy it. But all of those things are going to help you in the long run to keep your health really nice as you get older. So just need to evaluate how you're burning the candle at both ends and see if there's something that you can slow down on. Um, and then the last thing that I wanted to point out is kind of what I call a bleaching of skin. Um, and I'll circle it for you. So we see a bleaching in this area as well as kind of this area. And this area here is the thyroid. And all of this here is the energy of the thyroid and the parathyroid. Now I look at the other foot for a reference, because usually what I can see on one foot, I can see an indication of on the other foot. And what I see here is sort of an exhaustion. So with the bleaching itself, this is usually an indication. What I'm referring to here is it's a lighter coloring of the skin, almost as if the skin's been exposed to some sort of lightening agent. And but what it actually is the tissues, almost as if they have air in them, and they're revealing to me that there's something going on in these reflexes. And within these reflexes, this color change or lightening means that the organs that they're on, which for this is the thyroid, are going to be delicate and flighty and oftentimes sporadic in their duties. And so for the um, thyroid is going to show if you've got this flightiness and sporadicness in your thyroid. It's going to show a lot of different symptoms in your body. They start really slowly and sometimes really subtly, and we don't really recognize it until it's a problem. This foot is telling me that your thyroid is tired, which I would guess that there's a little bit of hypothyroidism going on here. Hypo, that means slow. Hypothyroidism. And what that's going to look like in your body is, and in no particular order, and it could just be one or two, or maybe a lot of them, but it's going to look like fatigue, low energy, sometimes weight gain issues. Um, you might have a puffy face or feel constipated. Um, your skin is going to be dry. You might have thinning hair, becoming forgetfulness or muscle aches, weakness, pain, swelling, even feelings of being depressed. Those are all kind of interesting symptoms because we actually start to feel a lot of those things as we age. But if you're feeling multiple of those, I would definitely, at your next routine checkup, I would definitely be looking to have the thyroid looked into, just to make sure that all the numbers are correct, because it's fairly easy to balance that out with medication. So um, that was the last biggest thing that I saw on your feet. Um, you have a really good foot shape, like I mentioned in the beginning, leadership, a really good speaker. Uh, I do see a little bit of callousing through the pad of the foot, um, which does play into that um, inability or unwillingness to share your thoughts and your emotions. In fact, going back to the thyroid, this is the throat area in the reflex signals, and the throat and the thyroid represent energetically our ability to express ourselves, to feel heard, and to talk about what is on our mind, and how we're feeling. And so this thyroid issue could actually be an emotional um, presentation on your foot, having to do with all those emotions and energies. I feel the underlying theme of your foot reading today is that you are under a lot of emotional stress, and it mostly rotates around your family and your relationships. Um, but that this emotional stress would be lightened if you were able to express your feelings and your concerns and your emotions. Um, I know that I'm sure you're a lot like my dad, and I know that a lot of times you were raised with the thought that you had to be tough and you couldn't show your emotions. But I promise that your health will be a lot better and your relationships will be a lot stronger if you are able to allow yourself this one thing. Allow yourself to be able to share your thoughts and your opinions, and slow down a little bit. Make yourself a schedule in the priority things of your day. If you're still working day to day, then you've got to find a way to balance that. And if you're retired, then you need to fill your day with the priority things. And self-care is a high priority, especially when we don't just want to live a long life, but we want to live a long quality life. It will be a benefit for you and for your family for you to do this self-care and take care of yourself. But overall, I feel like you are in good health. I didn't see anything that was really screaming to me that needed to be checked out. We had those two markers that I'd recommend at your next checkup. You just kind of ask about thyroid and prostate and bladder, just to be sure. And then just keep an eye on things. The dark spotting is completely normal, but if you see any changes in that or pain or swelling, then that's one to get checked out. And then the skin tag is just something to keep in the back of your mind that there's extra activity going on in the left eye area, and you'll just stay on top of things before anything develops. So thank you for listening to the video, and hopefully it was beneficial. And keep that positive outlook and that connection with your higher power. It is a beautiful, beautiful energy, and I appreciate the opportunity that I had to read your feet today. Thanks.